As always, I have no idea what I'm about to say.
Just keep it clean, okay? Hug your neighbors.
I need to break out and be free and swear when I want to.
Ultra Magnus, I have roller skates.
Never trust a Quintesson.
Let me say that again because I spit on the table.
It's not continuity, it's
Continuity.
Read gorilla, hide in forest. You
Just-
can do it, me. If you're a robot, you have joints, right? And you get shot with ranch dressing. Wouldn't that be
Takes forever
worse?
to clean it up.
Hello, I'm Justin.
And I'm Kyle.
And we are the Mirror Twins, and today we're talking about Transformer power-ups! Because what is better than a giant robot?
A more giant robot. When you have to give your opponent what 4 and that's not good enough, so you have to move up to what 5.
Oh, okay, so it doesn't double, it's not like what 8.
It depends on the armor, I guess.
Oh,
So this
okay.
is Transformers super modes.
Like when Iron Man puts on the Hulkbuster suit. You're
Yeah, I guess-
already super. Let's super it up a little more.
Let's super it up a little more soup.
What is a power mode? What isn't a power mode? Let's set the rules on the discussion.
Some of this branches into combiners a little bit, so we're going to say that Transformers super modes are when they have some of their alt mode added to them that they don't normally wear.
So the biggest example would be Ultra Magnus, right? His
Yeah,
trailer is part of his alt mode, and then his trailer busts apart. Oh, you just happen to have this.
So this is our Ultra Magnus when we were kids. I did have to
Smell the vintage.
This is the original one from 1986. But this is the original super mode gentleman from Ultra Magnus from the 1986 movie. He was a 1986 release. Is he dusty?
He's a little dusty. They're super modes or ultra modes or what do we call
They're
them?
typically under the umbrella of super mode. So
Okay.
he never had a regular mode in the series.
Because he looked too much like Optimus Prime, right?
He was a white Optimus Prime. This was originally a Diaclone toy that was brought over to the Hasbro market. He was called Powered Convoy, and it was a dark blue cab with red arms and blue legs. It was a different color.
So they recolored it for
Yes.
Transformers. So he was supposed to be Optimus Prime, but powered up. Or Convoy, or whatever he was in Diaclone.
Yeah, they took the Convoy from Diaclone and they just gave him a new trailer and said he uses these two. If you don't know the original Ultra Magnus toy, where the hands go, he's got 2 little plugs that plug him into the suit.
Okay. Easy pegs in.
His power armor, whatever you want to call it. And like I said, originally he was never this form. He was never White Optimus until later in the comic books.
Do you know why they decided to make him a new character completely rather than do what Diaclone did and make him a super mode of the same guy?
Originally, they made the Ultra Magnus character first, and the guy who was designing him for the movie did not know they were going to use this toy. So the original Ultra Magnus concept art didn't look anything like this. And they actually reuse a concept art to make Orion Pax in the cartoon series.
Oh,
for the 3rd
okay. Interesting. You're just hitting us with all sorts of Transformer knowledge
Yeah,
today.
well, I did a little bit of research, so
No, you just know the stuff.
I just know the stuff off the
Okay.
top of my head. So Ultra Magnus was the first super mode as a toy, not as a character in the show. Well, we can transition to the next guy just by pulling him out over here. So Jetfire technically came first, but this is a later version of Jetfire. This is the classics version of Jetfire from the early 2000s.
So you said technically he was first.
Well, he was in the show, Jetfire,
Okay.
or Skyfire as they called him because of Macross
Oh,
licensing and everything. But he did have the power armor, and this version specifically had a helmet. His face looked like the cartoon, but you could also have this helmet that made him look more like the robot.
the toy.
And he had armor that came off and everything.
But in the show, did he ever power up?
No. He
Okay.
looked completely different.
Oh, he was not on model at all.
Not at all, because they thought they could get away from the licensing issue if they changed them. They were kind of skirting around, and I think the other company was just kind of like, that's ours. Because it was one of those really complicated things where the toy was owned by one company, but the likeness was owned by something else.
And then the animation was owned by a third
yeah,
party.
and then they couldn't rope it all together.
Yeah, okay. He never powered up, so he just...
No.
He's always like that, and...
It's, again, he only existed in the toy.
Okay.
And you
On a side note, Classics was like the beginning of the retro.
Yeah, the nostalgia boom.
Nostalgia boom, and it never stopped.
No, it
Since
just it
then.
went into generations.
Yeah.
So classics. It was. I mean, we could do a whole video on just classics.
Do you guys want to see a video of just Classics? Just a retrospective look on retrospective looks?
A nostalgic look at nostalgia.
So you don't have the original to show us?
I
or
do.
You do?
He's right down there. He is broken.
We don't wanna
Yes,
touch
he
him.
is held together with hope.
But on a side note, if you do want to see more Transformer content from us, there is a playlist of all of our Transformer content, and one of the things in there is a tour of this man's basement. He has dubbed Cybertron, and it shows all of his toys, vintage, new, all the way up to modern. Who's next?
Next one, we're going to go to Powermaster Optimus Prime. So this existed in the US as a toy only. So this was a cab. It was very similar to Ultra Magnus, where he was a cab robot, and that transformed into an Optimus Prime looking toy. And then he could combine, he folded up basically into a cube. He did like a super back bend, and you slid him into the top of the trailer, and the trailer had fold out arms, and you stuck guns on him. There was a Japanese exclusive character. This is Powermaster Optimus Prime with the Japanese exclusive character added onto him, God Ginrai, or God Bomber.
Okay.
So you have the cab inside here. There's the back of his feet. So this is the end of G1. So this is after the cartoon's over. Powermaster Optimus Prime, which was released in 1988.
This is the original?
In the US. This is the Japanese encore. So this came in a big box. I actually got this at Full Circle.
Full Circle Toys is a large vintage toy store
and
that
games.
sells everything. Toys, video games, Barbies, everything.
Records, vintage video games.
And you help them out on the side sometimes with Transformers. So the original came out in '88. This
reissue?
This
2000s.
But it's an exact replica. Right?
It is. It's just a remold. So this is with God Bomber. So this is the God Bomber armor with the Powermaster in there, so you can see he's kind of fragile, boy.
Whoa, there he is. So in
So
the US, in 1988, kids couldn't go to the full mode.
No, they didn't have this guy. It was a completely different story in the US. They were aliens that he merged with.
So what was the story in Japan?
In Japan, he was actually a human truck driver from Japan who moved to the United States to find himself, go on a soul-searching mission, and his name was Ginrai. There was some cosmic thing that was happening, an evil entity, but he found in the glove box of his truck these two bracelets, and he could enact the power of the Master Force to become that little robot in the chest. He would basically transform his body to metallic, and he could combine with his own semi-truck to transform into an Optimus-looking robot, and then that would combine with his super mode. He was just Ginrai, and he would combine with his trailer to become Super Ginrai, and then God Bomber came along later. He was just a drone that followed him, and he would become God Ginrai. So this is God Ginrai.
Wow. Oh my goodness, that is the most Japanese thing I've
Isn't it?
ever heard. Did this have anything to do with Transformers?
Yeah, this was directly in line after the American cartoon ended. This was Super God Master Force, was the series. And you had these other characters, Metal Hawk and the other Pretenders, and they were involved with it, and they helped these humans and everything. This is a good series. Like, some of the later series got more silly. This one was involved, more character development, stuff like that. Lots of exploding things. It's a fun series.
Okay, and he's got stubby arms.
God Ginrai! With his stumpy wings, he could
Yeah.
fly. But this thing's a brick. Lift this thing.
Oh my goodness. Get my pump on. I love the toyness of play. It's like, it has wings, it can fly.
Yeah.
They can be like an 1/8% of his body, but if it has wings, it can fly. Ooh, I assume this is the modernized version?
Yes,
Same
it's
guy?
from Titan's Return. They made the Optimus. Now, it did not have the smaller robot. This is the example of the Ultra Magnus where he transformed into just the trailer and everything in the cab, and it became a robot. There was no smaller robot. This is a remold from the Ultra Magnus of that year, and they redid the trailer to make it look more Optimus Prime-y, and this is the Powermaster Optimus Prime. And now he has, again, the exclusive Japanese God Bomber attached to him.
You had to order the God Bomber from Japan?
You actually also had to order the Optimus Prime from Japan because his feet were different. The American release had a remolded chest. It looked different. It looked way more modern and crazy looking. The Japanese version had a more original looking chest. Now this is a confusing story. This is one of the last Toys R Us exclusive releases of this Optimus Prime. You could get the Japanese version of the toy in this box set with a few other Transformers. It was slightly painted differently than the Japanese release, but then I found the God Bomber on eBay, and so I could complete him.
Oh, so you needed to buy the Japanese extra stuff to throw on it.
Yes, but he did have the correct feet. The American release,
Okay.
It was the American release of the Japanese toy. I do not have the...
How do you keep track of all this?
But, the internet. It didn't have the smaller inner robot, but he does do the headmaster gimmick.
Oh, he's got a tiny little head in there. Yeah.
So we had Super God Master Force, and then we went into Transformers Victory. A little bit sillier series.
So that show was the beginning of the more kiddie Japanese
It was leaning towards that
style?
way, yeah.
Okay.
As far as I understand, it was different people, so they just kind of did their own thing. Or maybe they made a conscious change to make it more goofier and kid-friendly.
Okay.
But you had the more goofier characters. There were younger humans in it and stuff like that.
Yeah, because in America, Transformers has always been a little more serious, still for kids, but a little more serious. But in Japan, I didn't realize Victory was the first. It was always taken a lot less serious. It was a little sillier.
It got that way. It didn't start out that way.
Okay.
Because Super God Master Force, it had dramatic scenes. It was almost a little bit more, I don't want to use the word violent, but more actiony, I guess, than the American cartoon. And then Victory backed it off.
And then ever since then, Japan has always gone for a younger audience. Victory was the first.
Yes, I haven't seen it, but the Beast Wars adaptation for Japan was really silly.
Japanese G1, who do we have?
Okay, Star Saber. So I don't have an original Star Saber, but he did the same thing as Ultra Magnus, where he had a smaller robot that combined with the rest of his alt mode to form a super robot. I do have...
The HasLab. Oh, that's not him all Star Sabered up, is it?
No, because... So this is the super mode version. He was a Brain Master, so he has a tiny little...
A double Brain Master, right?
He's a double Brain Master.
It's like double Dutch chocolate cake.
Yes, that's exactly what it is.
That's a great metaphor, Justin.
Yes, and he does have the upgrade kit from DNA Designs. I think it's DNA Designs. So he has a longer sword. He has original faceplate. I didn't change that. So the reason I don't have Victory Leo attached right now, because I think that's going into the realm of a combiner.
Oh, because he was his own separate character.
Right, and for Super God Master Force, God Bomber was a drone.
Okay.
He didn't get sentientness till the end.
The most Gundam-looking Transformer ever.
Now, do you know why?
Because it was designed by the original Gundam designer,
I believe
right?
so, yeah. The guy who designed one of the first Gundams.
Something
With
very
courage and
Japanese.
grace, you will succeed, or something really
Okay.
cheesy. Hug your neighbors. You ready for the next one? So
Yes.
now we have Nova Prime.
Nova Prime.
So he was a character from the comics. He was a big jerk store.
Well, the jerk store called.
He was the leader of the Cybertronians before Optimus Prime. So he had the Matrix of Leadership. He's in their history. He apparently united all of Cybertron under one rule.
Is he an original Prime? Like the 13 original Primes?
No, he's
Or
not
is-
an original Prime. Depending on the comic book, he was the one who came right after the 13 original.
He looks like Angel Prime.
I think he did that on purpose, but he had a power armor suit. So you have the robot, but he just put on little booties. You can see his real feet on the inside.
okay.
And he got his little armor down there, and he has the backpack that gave him wings and he could fly. And he was pretty merciless. Anyone who disagreed with him, he would take care of him.
So he was doing it for the good of Cybertron.
That's
but
what he said.
He didn't take no for an answer.
They've made other toys of him
Oh, okay.
that were just basically white Optimus Primes with a different head with little horns on it. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this is the first one that had his whole super mode thing.
Oh, and the super mode is from the comics. It's not from the toys.
He
Okay.
did put on extra armor so he could fly. He was more powerful, and he's got bigger shoulders and the guns and the wrists.
And he transforms into a truck-like thing?
A truck, yeah.
And his armor turns
and
into
trailer.
what? Trailer? Oh, okay. So a lot of truck and trailer going on.
Yes,
A lot
Yeah,
of
there's
Optimus
a theme.
Prime.
There's a theme.
Okay.
So yeah, you'll see a theme that there's a lot of truck and trailer. In fact, the only person that was not a ground-based vehicle was Star Saber so far. He
Okay.
was a spaceship, a really weird-looking spaceship that transformed came apart. He's a little red spaceship that attached to a more weirder, bigger spaceship. Here's some you would actually know because we were collecting these together.
Oh, okay, so this is the first Japanese one that came out in U.S. cartoons,
Yes.
right?
This was transferred over to the U.S. It was dubbed very bright, colorful animation style. In the U.S., it was robots in disguise.
Okay, this is Optimus Prime as a fire engine, and he combined with the back half of his fire engine, again, truck and trailer, to go into super mode Optimus Prime.
Yep, this was his super mode, and they called it that in the show, and he was Fire Convoy. So he had lights and sounds, very cool toy.
And this is the original from the...
This is the original from 2001, I want to say.
Okay.
I think it's 2001. But this is the original. He's got the extra hands that would go under, and the booties, and the whole backpack, and the chest and head, and the fire ladder were one piece. And it's all smacked together to make the rest of the fire truck.
Star Saber is an exception, but a lot of these super modes, the trailer didn't do anything else. Like, it was the trailer, and then it was the armor. It didn't
There was
have
also
another
base
mode.
mode.
Oh, they do? Okay.
Yeah, they had a really goofy looking base mode. Basically, you assembled the pieces in a different way, and then you stood behind it.
Ta-da! Base mode!
Yeah. So this thing, like these pieces are only for base mode.
Oh, okay.
So it'd be like a shield that's almost as wide as you. Like not quite, you have to stand sideways. And then he could also combine to form another super mode, Omega Prime, when he combined with Ultra Magnus from this series.
Okay.
Which we do have, but again, I didn't combine him because it's technically a combiner. So it is a super mode, but it's also a combiner, so I left him out of it.
Because he's using someone else's pieces. Like if I ripped your arms off and put them around my neck,
and I got them back later. Yeah. Now, if I died, then you're a super mode.
Yeah, if your soul has escaped your body, I'm just putting your ribs on my chest.
That's a super mode.
That's a super mode, Justin.
But if you give them back later, and I'm just like, oh, thanks.
Okay, thanks. I was missing that. I knew something was wrong.
I'm glad you were able to defeat that villain.
It was hard to eat cereal without that.
I need my ribs.
Okay. Super mode versus combiner. I'm getting this.
You get it? Okay. And that was just my distinction. It depends on your idea of what a combiner is and what a super mode is. And, they do overlap. That's the next HasLab, by the way.
Oh, awesome. You gonna get it?
I ordered it, yeah. Now we have Transformers Armada. And this is I don't have the original. This is the new version.
The truck and trailer, again.
Truck and trailer. And he combines with this trailer, and it does do a base mode.
And this was not a continuation of the Fire Truck one. The Fire Truck one was self-contained.
Right.
And then the Unicron Trilogy actually built on each other. Like, they were a continuous continuity.
Yes, and but they had their own kind of universe because they had their own themes, they had their own gimmicks and stuff like that.
But it was supposed to be the same Optimus Prime.
It was a throughout story, yes.
Okay.
I can't speak much for the original, but this toy is pretty awesome.
Okay.
Other than his giant booty flap.
Some of us deal with that.
Yes,
some of us deal with a giant booty flap.
This is a fantastic toy. Very posable. The smaller robot's excellent by himself. The head of the super mode Optimus folds into the smaller robot, which I believe the original toy did. But you can see his little fisties back there.
Yeah, it's his own hype man.
Yep, just hyping up himself. You can do it, me.
Hiding behind him.
He did the base mode thing, and he was cool colors. They added this gold, and he had these radical pipe ears.
When he gets mad, they just steam. Fire comes out of it. Okay, in the cartoons, do they I need more power, and that's when they do it?
He was going against someone. If they were slightly taller than him, it was
we can't have that.
Yeah, we can't have that. Or if maybe he stubbed his toe on the way there.
Ugh. I need my booties.
I haven't seen it in a long time, but I think he started out as regular Optimus Prime, and then he would go to super mode.
Megatron was there, and then he would sneeze. The threat has escalated.
Yes.
All right.
He sneezed too aggressively.
At this point in the history, are you sick of truck and trailer? Do you want to see something a little more interesting or different?
Well, I think the concept is really cool. It would be nice to see other modes, but I think that concept of, let me pull this trailer along just in case.
It's like if we entered battle and we're just lugging this giant satchel.
Or we just have a giant trailer or a trunk. What's that? Don't worry about it now.
Don't make me use this, okay? Yeah, I guess it works. Why is he a truck? Why does he have... Because in the original, it's Roller was in there. It's a repair base only in the toy, never in the cartoon. So why is he lugging that trailer? Where does it go when he transforms? And now there's a reason for it.
Yeah, it makes sense as a toy.
Yeah.
It's neat. It's just a cool idea. Here's the truck. Oh, the truck does something. But guess what the trailer does?
But you're not tired of truck and trailer. You're not begging for, can you find some other way to do the super mode?
Well, they don't make that many of them. It's one a series.
So it's always a treat.
And they don't do it every time either.
It's like chocolate ganache. You don't want it all the time.
No.
You want it
but
to be
it's a nice treat.
Yes. Power modes. It's the chocolate ganache of Transformers.
Okay, so I don't have an example of the next guy. This was Transformers Energon, Optimus Prime. He had the Power Links concept, where they would link with different robots and stuff like that. A lot of the characters from this series, you'd have the character and he would transform into pants. And another character would transform into a nice shirt. And they could
But that's a combiner.
That is a combiner. So the Optimus from that era, he was a very chunky robot. So the front of the flat front cab became his body, like the original, but he was very round and he had a jolly belly and his little stumpy arms and legs, and he could combine with his trailer. Now his trailer, this was weird, you have to see the picture. His trailer housed 4 drones, and the drones could attach to him. Okay. And they would make him a super mode, and they could be any limb. Scramble City style. And they were odd colors. There's an orange one and a white one and a yellow one.
So in the Unicron Trilogy, Optimus always had a super mode.
Yes. And there were other characters in that series. There was a character called Landmine, and he had extra bits to his alt mode that he could wear like a power suit, had little power loader arms and stuff like that. There was another character called Bulkhead that kind of had the same thing. Then we go to our third Optimus from this series, back to a fire truck. And again, I don't have the original. Here again, we have the Optimus.
This guy looks sweet.
Yeah, he looks cool. Galaxy Optimus Prime.
Oh, wow.
He's called sometimes. He's got the shoulder armor that adds to him. He's got the little booties. You can see his feet in there. Nova Prime's a remold from him. This is what was in the show. This is, of course, the new version. The original was a big, giant, chunky toy.
So this is the remake. His face looks a little evil. He looks like an end boss to a Robo Diablo game.
He's got lots of guns.
He looks a little end bossy.
I put the guns on his shoulders just to make him more intimidating.
Yeah,
maybe that's what it is.
It is. This is Optimus Prime when he is pissed.
Now we're getting into the Bay movies.
Oh, this is when Jetfire sacrificed his life to be a part of Optimus. I didn't know you had this.
So I only combined him for this video. I've never combined him before. I've always had Jetfire and Optimus sitting there, and wow, what a
I see
piece
why
of craziness.
You didn't combine them, because this looks like a total afterthought.
Well, he was designed in mind because there are transformation joints that only exist for the Optimus Prime. He's pretty ridiculous, and I'm counting this as a super mode, not a combiner, because Jetfire did sacrifice himself.
He did die.
He did die. I don't think anyone asked him to. He just did it.
Well, he was old and cranky, and he was the first example of a Transformer farting, I think, right?
Disgusting. I try not to remember it. But this is the original Optimus Prime from the first movie, 2007, and this is the Jetfire from the 2009. So these are the originals.
I mean, he looked terrible in the movie, too, when he combined, right?
Yeah. All the robots did.
Okay.
That might be a
Look at these ungainly feet.
Yeah, and he leans back, leans forward.
Yeah,
just the way he transforms. But he's so heavy. Like both of these had batteries in them, so they're really heavy toys.
What is the fate of this toy after that?
He's going to sit on the shelf, yes, because I don't want to take him apart.
It's a headache to do this.
It wasn't fun.
How screen accurate is this?
It's pretty close, as close as they could get in toy form to make it actually exist in reality.
Like all the Bayverse.
Yeah, I mean, all of them look like a bag of knives.
Oh, poor Optimus. Poor Optimus. He looks depressed.
You know what?
He looks like he's unhappy.
I'm not going to say poor
situation
Optimus because he was a homicidal psychopath in the movies. So I'm not going to say
this is what he deserves. This is the best you get because this is what
you're crazy. Don't tell him that because he might step on you.
Okay, so we're breaking the mold though. It's not Truck and Trailer. We have Truck and Corpse.
Is that your new band?
Truck and Corpse.
Your metal band.
It's a triple pedal band.
How do you do triple pedal? Okay, so that was Jetfire, Australian Jetfire.
Truck and Corpse.
Truck and Corpse. Truck and Corpse. No, or it's a coffee brand.
Truck and Corpse coffee. It's something.
It's drinkable.
Having trouble waking up in the morning? Or wish you didn't? Well, now there's a brand of coffee that'll solve both those problems. Now in flavored variety, like axle grease and bloated putrescence. Truck and Corpse coffee. It's coffee, I guess.
Okay, so after the first movie, the Michael Bay movie, they had Transformers Animated.
Okay.
Which you watched. You were a big fan of. You loved it.
Yeah, I watched it later, and it was really, really good. So this is
Prowl with the
samurai armor. So what was the samurai armor? What did it transform into?
It was a sidecar.
A sidecar. Now that's creative.
Yeah, something he drug along just in case he needed it.
And it looks like it's a normal part of his alt mode,
right.
Kind of like the trailer. And it fits. It fits with him.
His motif.
It fits with that he's a motorcycle. It fits that he was a cyber ninja. Now he's a cyber samurai. It works so well. And the toy looks really good, other than maybe some of these joints here. Other than that,
yeah, but
this looks amazing.
What kind of psycho displays their toys on the shelf like that?
When the toys have shamed them. They're like, Face the
Face
wall.
the wall. But there you go. He was slight remold, slight color change, and then to accommodate the...
Toy-wise, where does this rank for you?
This is really cool. It's not as posable. It's a really cool design, really cool concept. He looks great, but as far as a fun thing to do, he's all right. So now we're going to be moving into the super modes for more modern age. I don't have examples of these toys. So the
Kind
next
of disappointed. You are my Transformer expert, and you don't have a Transformer?
I have others. You could say from Transformers Prime cartoon, the Apex armor, which they didn't make a toy of. It was a MacGuffins they would get, and you could put on the armor, and it would give him this big suit. You could say, technically, that's a super mode. There was a battlesuit Bumblebee. I think it was Transformers Prime. It was just this giant hunk of contraption that you would put a little Bumblebee in, and he was this giant mech suit.
Why didn't you get it?
I didn't know about it. I didn't see this. Researching this video, I found it. I think it's the Small Legends Bumblebee, and you put him in this giant thing to be a humongous battlesuit Bumblebee. There was a rescue bot called High Tide. The toy came with a boat, a big boat. High Tide was, a little rescue bot character. He transformed into a near future submersible vehicle, and he could combine to be the head when his boat transformed into a giant transformer.
Okay.
So, and he just sat atop it in alt mode.
All right.
So the head of the robot was just the canopy.
Okay, so that's stretching the definition of armor. If he's just
it's a
sitting
super
on
mode,
top of it,
right?
Okay.
He did become. He was almost like a headmaster, but the boat was not its own thing. It transformed. So the rest of his alt mode, it could be his alt mode or it's his ship. It's like if you combine with your car. You wore your car to the office.
Which that would be nice.
That would be nice. There was the Spark armor from Cyberverse. This was kind of a super mode. They would their backpack would open up and they'd flip down, and they'd have like
you'd cram it and it hit a little spring-loaded button, and they would go. Whoosh.
Yeah, a lot of them you just opened it.
Okay.
Or during the transformation, when you flip out the head or whatever, the armor would spring load out, and it was kind of a super mode. In Cyberverse and Rise of the Beast, they called it Beast Alliance, I think, for Rise of the Beast. There was a smaller toy that transformed into whatever alt mode, but then there was Optimus Prime came with a lion, and you just basically slam the lion on top of Optimus Prime, and it would transform
Spring
into
load
armor.
kind of thing. Okay, but that's not a super mode, right? Because the lion's alive?
I don't know. Was it just a drone?
Was it classics that the Bumblebee came with a little trailer and a jet ski?
Yes, I forgot about that.
But that's a super mode.
That could count as
that
a
was
super
not
mode.
on the wiki, was it?
No, it wasn't. But I guess you would count that as a super mode. But
You need to edit that wiki now.
I'm going to write them a strongly worded letter. And the only reason he came with that was to fill out the price point. Because he was a smaller figure. Yeah, the Beast Alliance was pretty much the end of the super modes. You notice they've scaled down a lot. We haven't had a good giant super mode.
How come you haven't bought a lot of the ones you mentioned? Is it too gimmicky, to just like the one you said you weren't even aware that it existed?
Some of the other ones, they're just the kid toys, they're the gimmick ones. They're spring loaded, you stick them on, and that's not really what I want. I just want the good solid toys.
Okay.
I was thinking of getting one for this video, but then I thought, I'm not gonna spend that money. It's Christmas time. I gotta spend it on other people.
Yeah. So what, in your opinion, makes a good super mode? What makes a bad one? Most of it sounds like what we have here, you were very favorable for.
Yes.
It didn't sound like too many of them, other than Jetfire, that you severely disliked.
Well, they have to be posable with the super mode on. You saw the originals were bricks. Stuck the guy on, and now he can move his arms.
So the main thing is it has to be an improvement on the toy.
From the original.
Yeah.
I would say it's just neat to have that super mode. It's like, armoring up, and, you can't fight the bad guy on your own, so you armor up with all the junk you brought with you.
What do you want to see out of super modes moving forward? You want to keep them rare, keep them good.
Yes. Posable trailers, I think, for the big boys, for the big guys, I think it needs to be the trailers, just because that's what makes sense. Now, a huge starship would be cool, too, if they want to change it up and go back to Star Saber type deal. What did you notice out of all the super modes that we talked about and that we displayed? Was there a common theme you saw?
Truck and trailer.
Truck and trailer, and who's usually a truck and trailer?
It's always Optimus.
It's almost always Optimus Prime, or at least the leader. And how many Decepticons did you see?
0?
0. And they weren't till later. You had the Beast Alliance.
You gave me this drawing about a separate video, but it was the size differences.
Scale, yeah.
The
So
scale,
these are all drawn to scale.
for what the vehicles actually are, and you'll see that Starscream is way bigger. He's basically as long as Optimus Prime is, including his trailer.
Yeah,
That's how much
he's close
bigger.
to it. Now that's
Yeah.
an F-15 F-15, which is larger than an F-22.
So scale is way off when they transform it into robots.
Yeah, it always has been.
But what if they kind of solved this where the back half came off?
Yeah.
And it wasn't its own robot? That just the front half came off, or the middle, or however you want to do it, and that's Starscream.
Yeah, and Starscream had a super mode.
And then Starscream had a super mode that explained why he's so much larger as a vehicle.
And then in vehicle mode, they could be scale. What I was thinking is they wouldn't do that with Starscream, because that wouldn't be Starscream. I think that would be a really cool concept for a new character. The new Commander Class Superion, he's going to have the combiner pieces be the back half of his jet. He can be the jet by himself, but then you can add another part.
Okay. You could have Gun Megatron. You know, he's actually this big.
And he just hops into...
He hops into a gun store, is his armor, and now he's the same size as
Or
Optimus.
just some redneck's truck.
It's like a gun safe, and then a gun
It just keeps
bunker, and then like, okay, that's a way you could make
That's just opened up.
You
Just
like that
imagine
idea?
Starscream with Megatron. You idiot, Starscream! He's like this big and Starscream. What? But yeah, it's not a Decepticon technology.
You'd think they'd be all about that.
Silverbolt transformed into a Concorde, which
Yeah,
is an enormous vehicle. Way
It's
bigger
a
than a truck.
passenger plane.
Yeah.
And then just the nose is that Silverbolt. And then he turns into his own, like, I don't know, exclusive European vacation. That's what the back half of the plane turns
Just
into.
an umbrella
Palm
and lounge
trees.
chairs. Because, like, if you did correct scale, then Superion would be the largest combiner. Because that's way bigger than cars
Yeah.
and trucks.
So, super modes are awesome if used responsibly. Remember that, kids. If you like what you see here, give us a little subscribe. If you want to see more Transformer content from us, picking this man's brain on all his Transformer knowledge, then there are several videos on our channel that you can check out.
If you guys have any suggestions, any topics you would like to hear about from us, now get out of here, you crazy kids.
Do-do-do-do-do.
Truck and corpse.
Truck and corpse.
Coffee. Why is it coffee?
There are no jerk stores. It's just a little confusing is all.